If you're about to print a worksheet, it's best to get a print preview first. A couple of ways to do this. You can go to the File tab in the ribbon and choose Print, and you do get a preview. Recognize on the far right side of the screen you'll see two sets of scroll bars. If you use the outer scroll bar and drag downward, recognize not only will you see the full page, but the all-important indicator at the bottom of the screen as to how many pages this is likely to take up. Now if this particular worksheet has about 700 rows or so and you see that it's going to take 35 pages, that don't sound quite right, does it? If you click the preview here and either use the mouse wheel or use the inner scroll bar there to drag downward, eventually, we'll begin to realize that in this particular set of data here that we are working with, it looks as if the first few columns are going to be printed and then some others on additional sheets. And then if we keep scrolling here we'll see how the other data eventually will be printed as well. Let's say that's not quite ideal. There certainly are some settings over in the left-hand side that might change our minds. Some of you might be familiar with the term portrait orientation, where the papers are oriented vertically. We might change that to landscape. Will that make any difference here? So that certainly didn't help here. Change it back to portrait. Let's escape from here or press the left arrow at the top of the screen and go back into our standard Excel view. Recognize that the ribbon has a page layout option with a number of choices here related to features that you will consider using before printing, but also same term, but not in conflict with, but not really the same. In the status bar, we've got 3 buttons. Normal, the normal view that we typically use as we work with Excel. Next button, page layout. Our screens look different here. If we were to zoom back a little bit here, we'll see multiple pages. The page on the left as we scroll down a little bit is page 1. Keep scrolling here, page 2. But the pages on the right, pages 18, 19. Now if you're working with your data at this point, of course, this is likely to look quite a bit different, and recognize also that Excel is trying to use all the data in the worksheet unless we indicate otherwise. So a couple of choices here we might want to consider. First of all, in this page layout view, let me zoom again by dragging the zoom slider bar and focus on just the upper portion here. Notice where it says click to add header. A design tab is activated, header and footer tools. So we might want to add the current date here. If you click this option current date, that's some kind of a strange indicator, but it will print the date. If we want to preview that, just click in a cell below. We see what will pan out. That's the date of this recording. So we'll click back up here. What if we want the time here as well? We might just click here and add a space and then click the icon for current time. So we'll see both of those, and over to the left here we might want to put in the name of the company or maybe the number of pages. So there it says, page number, that little indicator. How's this looking now? Click below it. One out there for the page number. We'll see the date and time here. We might want to have the word page there. So click in front of that little ampersand there, that ampersand symbol. Type in the word page followed by space if we want that. So we've got some control here over our header and footer. Now if we click back into the worksheet portion of this in the preview and then go back to the page layout tab, there are some other options here. Now we can't go through all of these, but from time to time we might want to go back to our print preview. We don't necessarily need to click on the File tab. Here are couples of other options. In the Quick Access toolbar, you could hit a button that gives you Print Preview. The rightmost arrow, it's a drop arrow, click it and choose Print Preview and print. So now if we want to print preview, click that button. We are back here again. Let's take a look at this. Is it looking any better? Well, we changed our titles there at the top. It's looking better that way. We can scroll up and down. How do we move away from here? Escape. So we've got the print preview button. There is also a keystroke shortcut, Ctrl plus F2. It is important to get that preview from time to time as you're setting up printing, and escape again. Now another option here. Once again using the zoom slider bar to move back a little bit. We still haven't quite dealt with the issue of what's showing in our potential printout here. Some options outside of print features might simply be if we don't want certain columns to be printed, we could hide them. The idea might be we're trying to bring these columns onto the same sheet, but here's a completely different approach. Let's go back to our normal view and suppose we're saying, the data to the right, that's useful, I might want to print that separately. Maybe all we really want to print is the data from these cells over and downward. A quick way to select this data ahead of time is drag across these headings and holding down the Shift key just double-click the bottom edge of a cell here. Now we can certainly drag across the data. What we are about to say is this is all we want to print. So there's an option of the Page Layout tab called Print Area. Select an area on the sheet you'd like to print. Well, we've already selected it. Click this, Set Print Area. Now let's take a look at our preview. There's our button up there, or Ctrl plus F2. We see the preview. Use the outer scroll bar on the right to scroll downward. We're at 34 pages maybe. We're still not there yet. So possibly we will reconsider landscape orientation here. Instead of 34 pages it's down to 24 pages. Click here. Maybe scroll up and down again. Is that acceptable? Well, it might be. Recognize again that you're the one making the final call on how this is going to appear. Maybe that's pretty acceptable. One thing that you might not care for though is this. On page 1 we do see the heading, page 2, page 3, we don't see that. Do we always know what column we're looking at? So let's escape here and once again go back into the worksheet environment. We don't necessarily need to have the page layout view in the lower right-hand corner activated. It doesn't hurt, but it's not necessary at this point. But the option we want to focus on is on the page layout tab, and it's called Print Titles. Choose rows and columns you'd like to repeat on each printed page. Click there, and what is the row we want to see repeated at the top? Click here and we can simply select row 1. In some cases rows 1 and 2 depending upon the worksheet. That looks good enough. From here, we could just jump into Print Preview. Let's take a look. Print Preview. Now we're back here, and what happens if we click and start to scroll? Now we're on page 4, page 3. All of these have that heading in place. Now we haven't covered all printing features, but let's say in this case it looks pretty reasonable. We could then print. So escaping again, using a combination possibly of page layout view and status bar and also some of the features available on the page layout tab, we can prepare our worksheet for printing.